I called 911 on someone for leaving a baby in a hot car, and then watched my own sister get dragged out of the store in handcuffs. I was walking through the parking lot at the shopping center when I noticed a car with all the windows rolled up and a baby strapped into a car seat in the back. The temperature that day was pushing 100 degrees, which meant the inside of that car was probably closer to 150. The baby wasn't moving, and its face looked flushed, and I started banging on the window, but it didn't react at all, and I realized with absolute horror that I might already be too late. I yanked on every door handle, but they were all locked, and I turned around and screamed, "Somebody help me, there's a baby dying in here." I kept slamming my palm against the glass, yelling, "Wake up, come on, please wake up," while some guy sprinted to his truck saying he had a tire iron and a crowd started forming. I called 911 with shaking hands, telling the operator that there was an unresponsive baby trapped in a hot car, and I needed help right now. And I remember thinking that whoever left this child here deserved to rot in prison for the rest of their miserable life. The guy came back with the tire iron and was about to swing at the window when two cop cars came screaming into the lot, and an officer jumped out yelling at everyone to step back and stay calm. But I wasn't calm because there was a dying baby 3 feet away from me, and nobody was moving fast enough. The officers tried calling for the owner over the loudspeaker while another one got on the radio, requesting emergency medical and a tool to open the door, and I kept pounding on the glass, shouting at the baby to hold on. A fire truck arrived, and paramedics jumped out with a stretcher and cooling blankets, and one of them took one look at the baby through the window and said, "This child is already in critical condition," and I felt like I was going to throw up. Someone in the crowd spotted the owner walking out of the store carrying shopping bags like she didn't have a care in the world, and that's when my entire body went cold because the woman walking toward us was my sister. The cops grabbed her immediately and started shouting questions, and she looked completely bewildered, saying, "What are you talking about? What's happening right now?" But they weren't listening because they had a baby dying in a hot car. They threw her against the hood of her own car and handcuffed her while a firefighter grabbed an axe from the truck because they were out of time. The window exploded inward and glass went everywhere, and the paramedic reached through to unbuckle the car seat while everyone held their breath. They pulled the infant out and laid it on the stretcher and immediately started chest compressions. The paramedic was counting compressions out loud, and she kept going and going, but there was no response from the infant, and I could hear people in the crowd starting to cry because we all knew what it meant when CPR went on this long. She finally stopped and sat back on her heels, and everyone went completely silent because we thought we had just watched a baby die in a parking lot. A woman behind me let out a sob, and I felt my knees start to buckle. But then the paramedic looked at her partner and said, "Are you kidding me right now?" Her partner leaned in closer and then started laughing, and I mean really laughing, like he had just heard the funniest joke of his entire life. Someone yelled, "What is wrong with you people?" But the paramedics just kept laughing while the rest of us stood there in horrified confusion. The paramedic picked up the infant and turned it around and held it up for everyone to see, and that's when I noticed the battery compartment built into its back and the seam running up its spine and the tiny tag that said medical training equipment in red letters. I watched 30 people realize at the exact same moment that they had just spent 15 minutes trying to rescue a rubber doll, but it was scary how real it looked. My sister shouted, "I tried to tell you guys, but you decided to smash my window instead of listening to me for 5 seconds." The officer uncuffed her immediately, and she snatched the mannequin from the paramedic and held it up for the whole crowd to see. I teach CPR certification classes to nurses. Every single one of you should be embarrassed right now. The crowd scattered, and my sister spotted me, and her eyes locked onto mine. You're the one who started this whole circus, aren't you?" I tried to explain that I genuinely thought the baby was dying, but she held up one finger and cut me off. "I'm going to bring this up at every single family gathering for the rest of your natural life, and probably at your funeral too." She popped the trunk to put away her bags, and I glanced over and immediately froze because there was a full-sized adult male mannequin lying in there wearing a button-down shirt and sunglasses. I stared at it and then stared at her, and she just shrugged. "That's Hank. I use him for the carpool lane, don't judge me."